The fastest runs I've had in Lake of Shadows were with a Warlock on Well, a Titan on Bubble, and Stasis. The person running Stasis can be any class, but I highly recommend a minimum of Duskfield Grenade with Resonance Siphon. I say minimum because the ideal Stasis pick is a Warlock with Bleak Watcher, but anything can work. The people not running Stasis can benefit a lot from Focusing Lens. As for weapon loadouts, if you have someone running Divinity and Special Finisher, it completely shreds the champions here. You gotta let them get the finishers to keep their ammo supply fresh, but Divinity and 2 Vexes with Particle Deconstruction makes the overloads a 1-clip. Le Monarch is also really strong here. Have everyone bring a sword for the boss. It will make the boss the easiest part of the run. I strongly recommend Falling Guillotine, as the heavy attack is going to be the highest damage output of any sword, but you also won't be using it much if at all outside of the boss, so don't worry about Scavenger or Ammo Finder mods unless you're on Divinity. This also means that boss spec will be the most beneficial weapon mod for your sword. As for the mods you do want to be concerned with, Protective Light saves lives. I run it with Taking Charge, Elemental Charge, and Shield Break Charge. For the resist mods on your chest, if you find yourself struggling with the overloads, Void Resist helps, but if the knights or snipers are killing you more, go Solar Resist if possible. One last relevant side note, try to diversify your elements regardless of what you run. All 3 shields are present here, though Solar is much more prevalent. Speaking of shields, let's get into the run. Your first targets in this initial encounter should be the Centurions. They're the only arc shields in the run, and if you leave them unchecked, they'll fire slow but deadly projectiles at you. The Scions in the back right and throughout the run will multiply to refill their numbers if you don't kill them fast enough. And this is the first example of what I was talking about with your Divinity user going in for the finisher to refill their special ammo. So, Blight Cheese, if you destroy these giant orbs in reverse order, you skip a majority of this first section. You're gonna have 2 Unstoppables at both the second and third Blight. Once everything is cleared out, have one teammate start destroying the third Blight. The other 2 will backtrack to the second and first. Side note on the corruption on the ground, don't stand in it. It'll kill you in less than a second, and being rezzed inside of it will kill you again before you're able to move. That's not a huge deal in this first section, as destroying the Blights removes the corruption from the ground, but later on there's going to be a room with corruption on the ground that can't be removed. If you're on first and second Blight, communicate with your team when you destroy your Blight, as there won't be any indication that they've been destroyed. Also, you can stand on top of the Blight to avoid the damage over time from being inside it. But do feel free to put some damage into it in advance. They have a decent amount of health. Once the Blights are down, a mini-boss will spawn with some snipers, scions, and 2 overloads. And the overloads present in this Nightfall truly are a different breed. More than a couple times, I've seen them still manage to get a shot off when they're being hit with Divinity and a Duskfield Grenade next to a Stasis turret. Approach with caution, as they are also snipers. We interrupt this Nightfall to bring you Overload Dubstep. Look at this guy still firing off missiles. It's mildly ridiculous. Take your time going through these next few sections. These Blight wells are everywhere. There's 2 Unstoppables right outside this doorway leading outside. The best way to deal with them is to lure them in. Once they're dead, this outside section is going to have 3 overloads, an unstoppable, 4 snipers, a mini-boss, and a lot of scions. I default to taking out the snipers first. There's 1 top left with the overload, 2 with the mini-boss, and 1 far mid with another overload that's going to be out of sight until you push up a little. Top left with the overload is the only one that's close enough to shoot at you. These are the 2 in the back with the mini-boss. A side note on the Scions, they only multiply to refill their ranks. They won't exceed the amount they started with in the cluster, so if your team is otherwise engaged and you're facing them alone, don't aim to kill. Get the entire squad in one-shot territory so they're much easier to wipe out. This mini-boss is one of your solar shields, and it's best to take it down before you close in on the Unstoppable and Overload on the left. For this next room, there's a knight on the left that has line of sight on the doorway. If you linger, you're probably going to get scorched. It's best to run in and challenge the more immediate threats. A Duskfield grenade on that knight will save lives. So earlier I mentioned that there was a room where the corruption couldn't be removed. This is that room. And unfortunately, this is what happens if you die in it. If this happens, you're out of the run until your team reaches the boss room and you get teleported. This mini-boss is the only void shield in the run, and if your entire team is running a void sword, have one person run distraction while someone else closes in for the kill. After that, the only thing standing between you and the boss is a few more overloads. Which brings us to sword strat. Warlock drops a well, Titan pops a bubble, everyone throws a grenade, and then you go all in with your swords. It's possible that we collectively skip the grenade part in this run, but the boss still dies long before well or bubble run out. And that is Grandmaster Lake of Shadows. Good luck in there, thanks for watching, and subscribe for more Destiny 2 content.